Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to the Beyond the Hype webinar. Hello. While you're joining, go ahead and thank you. Go ahead and drop where your name and where you're joining from in the chat so we get a sense of who's in the virtual room with us today. Just as a heads up, I'll get into some quick housekeeping notes in a minute, but we don't allow any AI note takers. So Vanessa, my colleague, and I will be going through and just dropping out any of those AI note takers that pop in. But good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. As I said, if you want to go ahead and drop in the chat your name, your organization, and where you're joining from, so we'll get a good sense of where everyone is joining. Just going to keep removing some of these AI note takers. And we'll get started in just a minute. I want to give folks a few minutes to get in. Again, this is the Beyond the Hype webinar, 5 blueprints for responsible AI in the field. We're excited for a great conversation today. Hello, everyone. I'm seeing so many people joining the UK, North Carolina, Washington, D.C., people from all over. Hi, everybody. Zimbabwe. We're so appreciative for everyone joining, no matter where they are, no matter what time it is, morning, evening, afternoon. We're happy to have you here. All right, I think I'll give us maybe 30 more seconds and then we'll get started. Oh, Peru. Hi, Mike. Thank you for joining us. Toronto. All right, I think I'll go ahead and get us kicked off. I'm sure more people will be joining as we get started. So welcome, everybody. It's so lovely to have you here from all over. This is Beyond the Hype, 5 blueprints for responsible AI in the field. I want to welcome everybody. My name's Erin Streck. I am the Senior Manager for Philanthropic Partnerships, working on our partner programs and sponsorship here at NetHope. And I'm excited to be here today with Jonty and Gabriella, who are going to be giving us a fantastic presentation. Just a few housekeeping rules before we dive in. The webinar is going to be recorded, but it will be shared on the website after a few days. As I've noted, we don't allow any AI note takers or external recordings or screenshots or anything like that. So Vanessa, my colleague, and I will be going through and dropping any AI note takers off of the attendees as they join. Questions throughout can be asked throughout the presentation in the webinar via either the Q&A function or just drop them in the chat. We'll try and get to those either at some time at the end or, if some of those questions are coming up, we know some of the panelists would love to kind of answer those questions in real time. So feel free to drop any thoughts or questions in the chat. We really hope to have a lively conversation today. Just one note, though, we ask that you kind of keep this split space safe and honest for dialogue, respecting your other attendees, respecting organizations and individuals that are joining. Yeah, let's keep it a fun and lively and respectful conversation. And then lastly, again, just drop your name and your organization where you're joining from in the chat. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it over to Gabriella, who will start sharing her screen.
Good morning, good evening, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Give me just a second while I go ahead and present over here. Oops. Are you able to see my presentation?
Um, I see kind of your shared screen.
Oh,
So I'm
interesting.
seeing
Funny
the
enough, everyone, we literally
we
practiced
did
this.
practice this.
We practiced this. I'm not even kidding. Twice. Here we go. This is the right screen. Let's go ahead and do it. Apologies about that.
No problem.
It's funny how things work. You over prepare and then sometimes that doesn't work. All right. I think
Perfect.
now you can
Yes.
see it. All right. For better, for worse, I like doing a quick little icebreaker. I know that you all already dropped where you're from, where you're joining. Out of curiosity, I would love if folks could drop an emoji on your energy level, how you're feeling, what you're feeling. That could be excited, that could be sad. I'm personally still waking up. I'm joining from the Bay Area. It's already, I think, Thursday, so I'm definitely reaching towards the end of the week. Today, we're going to be talking about responsible AI and, in particular, how responsible AI is approached at Salesforce. And then I'll introduce Janti, who then will join the conversation in dialogue and talk about values at Oxfam. And then obviously, we'll open it up to all of you all to ask questions. Before we start, though, I just wanted to say thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. I know this is taking part of your day, and there is so much happening in the world, and a lot of this stuff is really hard to understand. And hopefully, you will walk out of here today feeling like you have a sense either of more curiosity or at least how we tend to ground some of these big theoretical topics. So, for us, for 25 years, we've been partnering with nonprofit organizations throughout the world. Our commitment at Salesforce is to support you, the change makers, in all that you do. Over 60K nonprofit education and philanthropic customers work with us to achieve digital flexibility that they need to be in agile, uncertain times. Be relationship centric as expectations change and as the impact despite macro and micro factors at play. Innovation has always been a key value for us, and that innovation extends to all products, solutions, and industries that we serve. With 3 releases a year, we offer the best class in solutions to support nonprofit programs, cases, fundraising, grant management, and volunteer management functions. Our foundation product, Agent Force Nonprofit, continues to grow in a breadth and depth that we will share in more detail in just a few slides. But before we do that, I would love to share this video about the anthem that builds the Office of Ethical and Humane Use vision for responsible AI to life. It shows how the most impactful AI is the most responsible AI that frees us to connect, create, and lead. Through moving portraits of people, this film will reveal how progress isn't just speed, but intention.
What if progress wasn't measured by speed, but by intention? The future of work is ours to design. That's why we're building trusted AI that reflects people, not just processes. Systems designed for collaboration, so more people of all backgrounds can be part of shaping what's next. Where trust isn't just a value or a feature, it's our operating system, engineered for confidence from the inside out. Because the most impactful AI is the most responsible AI. AI that helps us focus on what matters, freeing us to connect, create, and lead. No one has all the answers, but we're leading with integrity, testing early, listening often, and sharing as we go. Building AI right from the start, with care, with clarity, with people at the center.
All right. So, as I mentioned earlier, today I will be talking about how responsible AI is approached at Salesforce. And then I'll bring into the conversation John T. Gray, who is a director of individual engagement at Oxfam GB, where we will take this conversation further. But before that, a little bit about myself. My name is Gabby Erickson. I'm a senior product manager at Salesforce under the Responsible AI and Tech team, which sits under the Office of Ethical and Humane Use. I've been in this space for quite some time. I just reached my 1 year at Salesforce. Prior to this, I was at Google doing similar work. I've been in the industry for just about a decade, thinking through what types of risks can occur when technology is deployed. I have a deep passion for making sure that technology is being used in the most impactful way for society. And then before that, I was a community organizer in the Bay Area. So very, very, very rooted in helping others and then scaling that impact. But before we dive deep into responsible AI at Salesforce, I want to first ground us in the history of AI innovation at our company. Salesforce has over 10 years of AI innovation under our belts, from founding our AI research team in 2014 to establishing the Office of Ethical and Humane Use in 2018, to the launches of all our GBT products in 2023 and to Agentforce in 2024. And we're now proud to lead the trusted AI revolution, building trust into our own offerings and acting as trust advisors to our customers, partners, governments around the world, sharing our learnings and our best practices. This year, our team has sat on seven ethical AI advisory councils around the world and signed into the White House voluntary commitment for safe, secure, and trusted AI. As I mentioned, the AI revolution is a trust revolution. Our role is to make sure that trust keeps pace with technology, especially as we move into the era of agentic AI. We can't unlock the promise of AI if we don't trust it. We enable this as a customer zero for trust at Salesforce, embedding real world trust practices across our operations, policies, and product development. We need to be able to trust AI with our customers, our employees, and our data. We make this possible with generative AI, and we need to make it possible again with agentic AI and beyond. We are asking some hard questions. How is AI being trained? Are humans remaining at the center of AI design? And what values are being built into that data and the biases too? These are the type of questions that we grapple with at OEHU. Let's dive deeper into our approach and how we define trusted AI at Salesforce. The Office of Ethical and Humane Use exists to provide guiding leadership for tough questions that arise when human potential meets emerging technology. We work inside and outside of Salesforce, developing and deploying policies and products to propel innovation to a trusted, responsible tech world. Let's double click into our guidelines for responsible agentic AI. I'd like to ground us on a set of principles that guide how we develop AI at Salesforce that will help us discuss the responsible AI process and review. First, we have accuracy. Prioritize accurate results. In Agentforce, we achieve this by feeding up-to-date and accurate data sources to ground answers and actions. Having sources allows us to easier fact check. For example, Agentforce ensures that generated content is backed by reliable data sources, allowing users to cross-check and validate the information. Powered by Atlas Reasoning Engine, the brain behind Agentforce also enables topic classification to set guardrails and ensure reliable results. 2. Safety. Mitigate bias, toxicity, and harmful outputs by conducting bias, explainability, and robust assessments and ethical red teaming. We'll talk a little bit more about testing in a few slides from now, as it is super important to ensuring the agent is ready to be deployed safely. For example, Agentforce includes a built-in toxicity detection mechanism through the Einstein Trust Layer, a robust set of guardrails that protect the privacy and security of our customer data to flag potentially harmful content before it reaches the end user. This is in addition to default model containment policies and prompt instructions that limit the scope of what the agent can and will respond to. For example, an LLM can be guided to prevent the use of gender identity, age, race, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, and other variables. Third, honesty. We want to ensure that we're transparent about the use of AI. For example, Agentforce is designed with standard disclosures baked into AI agents that send outbound content. Agentforce sales development representatives and Agentforce service agents, for example, clearly disclose when content is AI generated to ensure transparency with users and recipients on when they are engaging in conversation with customers and prospects. Fourth, empowerment. Center people when developing agents, whether it's your clients, patrons, donors, or the people working at your organization. You must prioritize human AI partnership. For example, Agentforce empowers people to take control of high risk decisions while automating some routine tasks, ensuring humans and AI can work together to leverage respective strengths. And last but not least, sustainability. Use of AI strategically and effectively to minimize impact and cost. Develop right-sized models, use efficient hardware and low-carbon data centers to reduce impact. For example, Agentforce leverages a variety of optimized models, including XLAM and XGen Sales, developed by Salesforce Research, which are specifically tailored to each use case. This approach enables high performance with a fraction of the environmental impact. Excuse me, this is the first time I speak all days. All right, let's dive a little bit deeper into accuracy. Accuracy is the bedrock of trusted AI. For Salesforce, this means that more than just correct answers, it's outbound ensuring outputs that are reliable, explainable, and actionable. We do this through the trust patterns and guardrails embedded into the product lifecycle. The Einstein Trust Layer enforces enterprise-grade standards, respecting permissions, maintaining data privacy, and ensuring transparency. And critically, all outputs are grounded in customer data, so decisions and recommendations are contextualized in a way businesses can trust. Additionally, products we have designed human handoff moments where humans provide feedback to improve accuracy, or the agent provides resources, citations, and information. Accuracy isn't a one-time check. It's a continuous process of designing and testing systems to deliver outcomes that customers can confidently use. Safety. This is probably the area that I spend most of my time on an everyday basis. Safety at Salesforce means anticipating risks and designing defenses before our customers encounter them. We embed safety into our development process through a multi-layered approach. This includes manual and automated red teaming, testing adversarial scenarios ranging from bias to prompt injection, and hackathons that bring diverse perspective to push our system to their limits. Basically, we're trying to break the thing. We are also pioneered employee trust testing, where Salesforce employees around the world stimulate real-world personas to reveal subtle forms of bias and cultural insensitivity that traditional testing might miss. This year, we went further by publishing a hazardous content review policy created in partnership with our responsible AI tech team, legal, policy, and global health and safety. It provides best practices and mandatory training for our employees who may be exposed to harmful content during the red teaming or content moderation, helping us protect not just our customers, but also our own people. As part of our red teaming work, we run bug bounty programs that reward both employees and external experts for surfacing vulnerabilities. Together, these safeguards form a reputable, resilient process. It ensures our AI is not only powerful, but it is also robust, ethical, and safe in the real world. This is what it means to design resilience into our systems, building defense before our customers ever experience the risk. Honesty. For us, it's about setting clear boundaries that customers can trust. Transparency isn't optional, it's contractual. In our AI AUP, it's part of every customer's legal agreement with Salesforce, making trust enforceable, not just aspirational. Or rather, our AI acceptable use policy defines where AI can't and shouldn't be used, especially in high risk areas. So typically, this includes areas like finance, education, health, just to name a few. This includes legal decisions and also financial, where humans must make that final call. Medical or professional advice that must come from a licensed expert, and any attempt to predict, infer, protect characteristics like age, gender, biometric data. We can also prohibit deceptive practices like creating bots that impersonate humans and require disclosure when people are engaging with AI agents. These guardrails are published and public because we believe transparency protects everyone, our customers, their end users, and the trust that makes AI adoption possible. Empowerment for us has two dimensions. First, accessible by design. Everyone at Sales, every Salesforce product is built to meet global accessibility standards like WCAG 2.2, Section 508, and the European Accessibility Act. Our product accessibility team co-designs, rigorously tests, and employs and partners with disabilities. And we're also already meeting new opportunities of agentic AI, like launching our agent for developers, which can help fix accessible code. You can see how this shows up in Agentforce chat panel, where we've implemented consistent accessibility patterns, semantic markups, proper labeling, and focus management to ensure that the experiences is usable for everyone. Second, empowerment is about human and AI partnership. In Agentforce chat panel, agents can suggest actions like accessible code fixes, but the human makes the final decision to either accept, edit, or reject them. It is this example of a trusted AI handoff that surfaces relevant cited information and never acts alone. It is a design choice that builds confidence, expands independence, and again, reinforces accountability, especially paired with accessible UI patterns. Together, accessibility and trusted human AI handoffs show we design empowerment into our systems, keeping users in control, informed, and supported. The value the company gains from AI has grown significantly, and so has its environmental impact. We believe a more successful approach to AI is also a more sustainable approach. Sustainability is a guiding principle for the development and the deployment of AI here at Salesforce. We believe that approaching AI with sustainability in mind is critical to long-term success. Computing power requires to train advanced AI system multiplies 5 times every year. That growth comes with real environmental impacts on energy, carbon, water, materials, air quality, and lands. And these aren't just environmental concerns. They translate into real business risk, cost, cost pressures, resource availability, commercial availability, and also reputation. That's why at Salesforce, sustainability isn't an afterthought when it comes to AI. It's built in from the start. Our framework to advance AI sustainability is built into three pillars: smart demand, efficiency, and clean supply. Smart demand is using AI wisely. We start by asking, how much intelligence does a task really actually need? Agent Force is designed so that customers don't need to train or fine tune their own models. We've also launched an AI Energy Score, a standard that gives clear, transparent insight into how much AI energy systems are consuming. Transparency, enablement, and engagement with customers and partners are a central pillar to this. Efficiency, doing more with less. Once we know what we need, we optimize how we deliver it. Our AI research team builds compact, specialized models that require significantly fewer resources than larger frontier models. Small compound gains across models, infrastructure, and products add up, reducing costs, use energy, and water consumption at scale. And last but not least, clean supply, powering AI with low impact resources. Even when the most optimized system still needs natural resources. So we make sure those inputs come from sustainable sources. This means investing in clean energy, advancing water replenishment, and working with our data center suppliers to raise the bar on sustainability. We are also hedging against grid and reduce risk. Ultimately, building sustainable AI means making responsible choices at every level, from initial design to the final deployment and use. So, first, if you're not familiar with governance, it functions, actions, and people that govern Salesforce platform to drive towards and maintain a vision. Let's start off by defining what we mean by what we mean by governance here. Again, having a governance structure ensures that we are compliant with legal commitments. It ensures that we are driving business value. It helps us identify risks before they're actually created. And it helps us measure the right metrics and programs, keeping owners accountable. And it actually allows us to drive innovation at that common term that I am sure we have all heard, at velocity. If you'd like to learn more about our work, here are some links. I think this will be shared out at the end. Please check it out. These are small links, blog posts, newsletter, articles, deep dives into how we continue to make progress in our AI and agent impacts report. We've also just launched a new interactive digital experience that brings trusted AI and human learning together to life. What makes it unique? It's built using real workflows from real Salesforce employees. We conducted interviews across roles, from marketing to sales to development and more, and use our own internal AI tools to map how employees are using agent AI in practice. When customers enter the experience, they start by selecting a role. From there, they're guided from common tasks specific to their role, then shown how an agent can support that task, and most crucially, how Salesforce trust guardrails make that not only safe but possible. Each moment spotlights specific guardrails like prompt transparency, data masking, or our escalation triggers. Because without these trust futures, responsible human and AI teaming simply doesn't work. In order for our customers to take these practices home with them, we've created a new set of guidelines for successful and responsible teaming. Trust, again, comes both not from product futures and consistent ground, but also from responsible principles. Again, check the link if you want to learn more. Our responsibility doesn't just stop at Salesforce. We also work across governments, industry, allies, and global commitments to advance trusted AI. Our intergovernmental side is represented throughout different councils for ethics on AI. It's also at the US National AI Advisory, and much, much more. We also participate in state level, like the Oregon AI Definitions Task Force, including also Washington State AI Task Force. We're also active in industry alliance, including Data Provenance Initiative, AI Alliance, and the Data and Trust AI Alliance. And globally, we've signed on to voluntary commitments throughout the world. These commitments reflect our belief that building safe AI and responsible AI is not the job of a company, but it actually requires global coalition. Through the broad ecosystem of councils, alliances, and commitments, Salesforce helps us shape the standards that make trusted AI possible. And so, again, I know that I just threw a lot of information at you. I hope that at a high level, you're able to grasp that in order to really make things more tangible from an operational perspective, you have to have frameworks which are driven by certain values. And from those values, then you can take those and operationalize them into frameworks that then allow different multi stakeholders throughout the company. So, for example, I work very closely with our policy, legal, engineering, and product teams because each person has a very different a very different perspective to play, right? Like our product teams are trying to make sure that they are deploying some of the most innovative products in the market. Our legal teams are trying to make sure that they are in compliance with a lot of the policies um, that are being implicated by different governments. Our policy teams are making sure that our customers and our product teams are building in compliance with those policies. And then people like myself are thinking a lot about the potential risks that have not been yet created. And so, again, threw a lot of information at you, but I am actually now even more excited for the next part of the conversation where I will be bringing in John T. Gray, again, an individual engagement director at Oxfam GB, who will first talk a little bit more about the values at Oxfam, and then I'll bring it back to a few conversations, a few discussion points. Johnny, I'm going to go ahead and change it to the next slide and then toss it back to you.
Hi, everyone. John T. Gray. I am based in the UK and currently in Oxford. Our values as an organization, we talk about our main three values of empowerment, accountability, and inclusivity, about power being shared fairly, about all of us being held to account, and about no one being left behind. But underpinning all of that is our principles around decolonization, around the idea that the global south should drive their own initiatives and everything within the communities where they work. We talk about being a safe organization where everyone, regardless of background and characteristics, is protected and safe within the boundaries of Oxfam as an organization and beyond. And all of which is governed by a set of feminist leadership principles When we think about feminist leadership principles, and I'm not going to go through all 10 of them, we think about valuing each individual and recognizing everyone's power within a system. That's it, Gabriella.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I am going to go ahead and stop sharing my slide now and just bring it back to a few questions for you, Jonty. I know that you mentioned Oxfam mission is rooted on dignity and equity. When you first began building your AI strategy, what was the biggest theory versus reality challenge that you faced in keeping those values at the center?
Um, So there are some red lines. I'll start there. So when we think about using AI, I'll do this by example. I was at a series of workshops with Good Innovation in the UK, where we were working with lots of other charities looking at the use of AI, responsible use of AI. And one of the attendees there, a fundraiser, was talking about moving a cancer patient from one picture into the bed of another picture because the family in the other picture was lit better. Now, obviously, we think about the implications of the use of AI in that scenario. The idea that we can misrepresent people through the use of AI. And Oxfam, clearly, that's a red line that we wouldn't cross. But we have to think about a cost, and not only the cost of the use of AI, but also those environmental costs that Gabriella talked through. And as we fight for climate justice as an organization, we think about the data centers in the global south being sweatshops to run large language models. The new sweatshops of the world are in fact the data centers in the global south. For us, Oxfam AI presents quite a significant challenge from a use perspective. So we would only work with partners who have gone through that a significant and rigorous process to ensure that their use of AI complies with our values as an organization.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Is like also taking accountability and making sure that those standards are held high at every layer, because I think sometimes we only think about the deployment of the technology itself and not every layer that it takes to build that, like you clearly pointed, data centers. As I mentioned throughout our presentation, a major theme of our session is also keeping human at the helm. So, from an engagement perspective, how do you ensure that AI driven interactions actually deepen the trust of your members rather than making the relationship feel transactional or automated?
So we've taken a very distinct view on the use of AI and limited it. So if we think about our current use of Einstein, for example, so part of Marketing Cloud with Salesforce, we've limited the use of AI to summarize data, summarize the engagement of that supporter with the organization. We have not used it to generate content from scratch, and what we've found over time is that pure AI generated content doesn't sound right. That's a stupid way of putting it. But it doesn't actually hit any of the points that we're trying to hit with our communications with supporters. So AI is used in I guess 6 different ways to create stuff, to build stuff, to think stuff through, to find stuff, to make sense of stuff, and to do stuff automatically. And within those 6 areas, Oxfam as an organization, as they thought carefully through what the specific use cases are, and why we would want to use AI in those spaces. But bearing all of the rest in mind, we have tested various things. So, for example, in an emergency situation, a humanitarian emergency around the world, let's take Gaza for an example. And we regularly, weekly, we get situation reports from Gaza. You'd think theoretically it would be great to use those situation reports to send directly to our supporters to share with them what's going on, updates from the field, and so on. The use of technical data in those reports, even with translation, it doesn't provide an adequate summary of what's going on. It falls short. It lacks a human touch. It misses the reality of what's going on. It summarizes the wrong bits as important. So yeah, I don't know whether Gabriella actually answered the question that you asked, but
No, I mean, I think you're right, though. I often find that the current discourse often talks about a lot of this technology as a replacement to people, where there is so much context that is still missing. This technology has the capability of expanding what we can do, but never as a replacement to people, right? Like there's still that humanity base that it just simply cannot do, nor will it be able to do. Debated amongst many, I will say that that's my own personal opinion, not part of Salesforce, and we still have a lot of work to do. I often think about, um, I was born in Mexico in a little small village in Oaxaca, like in the middle of the mountains. And I often think about what would that little girl think and how her perspective and her reality was to where it is now. And those narratives that have now also changed my life and how I think about, who are the people that are creating these products, and how do we make sure that we are having perspectives from everywhere, because this technology evidently isn't just for one, and we really really do have to consider how it's used, but even like how you and I may approach the technology in a different way. I may learn that Jonty like here is actually using this technology in a way I would have never thought about it, right? And I think that's part of the process as well. So I couldn't agree more. I think that technology still falls short in many ways. And it's really about understanding where's that baseline of how we can take it and leverage it in its current form. But again, also, not fall into automation bias, and making sure that like we are still keeping our critical thinking mindset, that we aren't even as reliable. I went into a big tangent on accuracy and making sure that everything is grounded. Yes, absolutely. And then mistakes can happen. And so like making sure that you are, as a human, using that critical mind, using and assessing whether something makes sense or not. I do, with that in mind, actually have one last question for you.
I'll just go on one point
Oh, please,
before
please.
you go, Gabriella. I was in a meeting this morning where we had a debrief from South Sudan. And for those who aren't aware, in South Sudan at the moment, with conflict, etc., and starvation that's happening in South Sudan. And so I was sitting there whilst this update was happening and reflecting on the fact that I was going to be doing this webinar today. 97% of the people in South Sudan are not able to provide food for themselves. So they're dependent and reliant on others to provide support for them. And I was thinking, AI is a technology that excludes. There's no way that in however many years, by 2050, that those people in South Sudan will have access to AI. we're discussing a technology in a bubble in the global north. And yeah, it's where we need to reflect on it as a well, Oxfam as a global charity about the impact that AI has, but who has access to it. And we have to, as in the sector, somehow think about how we democratize that technology in the real world, not just the bubble in which we sit. Um,
Yeah.
Sorry,
No, no, I love it. I love it. I'm just thinking aloud because you do bring up this tension that we're having to reckon with, which is the development of technology moving at this unforeseen velocity. But again, who is adapting to that technology, and what are the implications of it not being as attainable across everywhere, right? Like what are the future implications of this? And I think those are some of the things that I personally am driven to stay in this space because, like I mentioned, I hold a very different perspective than probably many of my colleagues. My lived experience is very different. And I often, in conversations, I continue to very much still be in the thought process that this is an interdisciplinary mindset. Like it cannot have people of one viewpoint. It requires sociologists, it requires scientists, it requires engineers. Like it just requires so many different people, which I would actually just love to talk about. I've mentioned like the velocity, the adaptation to it. So from a humanitarian organization, who's obviously in the room, who are probably feeling that fever pitch to adopt AI, what is one piece of advice that you have for building a strategy that doesn't outpace that commitment into local integrity that you're very much talking about?
um, so if we start from the premise that AI is an enabling technology, and with all enabling technologies, they need to fulfill a specific need. So the definition of a use case, clear definition of a use case, and a definition around why AI would be the preferred option in that use case needs to be the starting point. So I would always start there. We have internal pressure in various parts of the organization within very technical groups within Oxfam to move to adoption of technology before we've actually properly defined those use cases. It's almost as if the idea that throwing it against the wall and hoping something sticks is a great thing to do. And I do not buy into that as a philosophy and never have done about any technology. I'm very happy for us not to be early adopters in the space. And I am happy that others leap forward, that the corporate world makes all the mistakes. They get all the pushback. And that allows us as a charity to wisely spend funds, which is one of our primary motivations as an organization, and at the same time use the technology as an enabler in the way that it was meant. We as humans are responsible for that definition, and I refuse. I sound like a Luddite. So for those on the call who don't know what a Luddite is, during the Industrial Revolution, the Luddites would go and wreck machines and break them as the Industrial Revolution spread over the UK. I'm not a Luddite. I use AI all the time, personally and at work. But yeah, those meta considerations around its use are always underpin everything that we do as an organization.
I could probably spend the entire day speaking to you about what we need to do. Um, I guess on that note, what are some of the things that you're excited to use AI for, and like what are some areas that you are curious as well?
So we've moved from a channel-based fundraising model to an engagement based fundraising model. And when we are in the UK, we are a retailer. So we have about we have a shop, an Oxfam shop, selling secondhand goods as well as ethical products in pretty much every high street in the UK. We have a range of different services like volunteering services for festivals. We are the biggest provider of stewards at festivals in the UK. And that most people find that surprising. We're actually the biggest book retailer in the UK. And so we altogether, if you look at the portfolio of Oxfam's footprint here, we've distilled it all down to 17 engagement types. When you think about how those journeys start, where they can start from any of those 17 different places, and you think about the journey that we need to take those supporters on, you can see that I can't do how many different variables that would deliver in terms of journey types in my head. But the complexity of that as a system, and if we're trying to encourage people to do as many of those engagement types as we can, we know that if a supporter does 3 or more engagement types, they give at least twice as much, and their loyalty to Oxfam exponentially increases. So when I think about the use of AI, I think about designing journeys around the individual. The human has designed those journeys. The human has put together that communication, but the order in which that appears, the opening paragraph in that communication, the journey that the individual goes through, using AI to power that journey is a legitimate use of AI. And the complexity of which we could not do or manage as an organization without the use of AI to underpin it. So it's in those kinds of areas where I am most excited. It's where it adds value both to Oxfam as an organization and that relationship management to improve loyalty, but also to the individual, the supporter experiencing that relationship with Oxfam. They're getting a much better experience, a richer experience with relevant experience through the use of AI. So yeah, it's those kinds of areas where it's additive, not replacing, where AI is at its best.
Mhm. I love that AI powered journey because you are right. The way these tools have the ability to expand our capacity and have more creativity in the way that we're able to approach things is to me still even as someone who has worked in tech for a majority of their professional career, I sometimes am just thinking, wow, like this is unforeseen. But again, like what aspects of it can I use it to expand that, and like what then does it give me the freedom to do? Obviously still speaking from a place of privilege as well, right? And being conscious of that privilege. I know we are almost at time, folks. Apologies, I am very new to how Zoom works, and I do see some chatter back and forth. I see a lot of maybe little icons on there. I apologize if we have not answered any questions. Thank you for your patience in hearing the conversation out. Again, these are topics that are extremely complex. I don't think anyone has the right answer. I do think they take hard conversations. And so if you are asking tough questions, please continue to ask them. Again, apologies on my end as one of the facilitators if I'm not able to accurately see all of that. But Jonty, again, thank you for your time. Anything else that you want to share with the group? I think we have a little bit of almost 80 people here.
Uh, no, I was wondering if there were any questions that
You
Yeah.
and I are both.
Yeah, so there's a couple of questions. I can flag one that we got a little early on. So in addition, excuse me, in addition to the company's internal controls and partnerships in place, can you expand on independent, external, and enforceable auditing or controls, so guardrails, that exist for agentic AI to protect the consumer and people and the environment? What are next areas for stronger protections and accountability? Your risk analysis is flagging.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of this is dependent on multi-stakeholder involvement. And so the type of guardrails that you're asking about are probably more in like our compliance side of the house. I can only speak to what I do, which is I conduct end-to-end analysis on the use case using a socio-technical framework that has been developed and is well known throughout the industry. From there, I think about ways in which risk may manifest. And then I work with the product team to either ask probing questions of have they even thought about this risk? If they have, then understand the likeliness of the potential risk occurring, and not only likeliness, but the potential severity of that risk. And then from there, creatively thinking on additional potential mitigations. And in certain cases, if we do, again, seen a lot of chatter, if we are thinking that some of these risks, the severity is too high, then escalating to the appropriate bodies and thinking through those trade-offs. Like, is this worth even actually pushing into the market? Because again, a lot of this is based on trust. And if we do things wrong, like that also comes back in a way that we don't want, right? A lot of the deployment of this technology is making sure that people trust it. So didn't really fully answer your question because that's out of my wheelhouse in terms of like the compliance side of the house. And I'm only a year in at Salesforce, so I can't fully tell you everything. I'm still on my own learning journey. But I do know that there's a lot of different folks across the company who are taking things like that into consideration.
That's great. And then one more question from the chat a little further up, which is for site reports, is there an instance where you have decided to stop or never start using AI? Or is that an instance where there's heavy HITL? How's that decision been made? This might be another one of those questions where it might be out of your wheelhouse, but I wanted to just flag it in case you have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I have reviewed now hundreds of use cases, and we have gone back and forth on whether some make sense for the business. Again, this includes having stakeholders from different perspectives. I have not yet experienced that because of the portfolios that I manage, but it may be that other folks on my team may have. But there are different frameworks in which we do consider the trade-offs of whether pushing something to the market or not.
Great. And I think Jonty as well, they'd like your input as well on the
uh,
Oxford side.
not yet is the answer. But I think most organizations are relatively early on in their AI journey. Particularly in the UK, I think uh, we've done a lot of thinking around this already, but particularly in the communication, fundraising, marketing space. But some of the more challenging areas, so when you're thinking about international program work, humanitarian work, uh, um, There have been suggestions, but we've not hit any of those red lines yet. It will happen. And we're even today at what we call a leadership forum, we were having some discussions around potential use cases, but we have not fully developed that thinking yet. But we will hit a wall at some point.
Great. Thank you so much, Jonty and Gabriella. We're just at time. Oh, exactly at time. So I just want to thank everyone so much for coming today, for your questions and for participating. Thank you to Jonty and Gabriella for sharing your perspective. It's always so lovely to hear from all different sides of the work. And this will be up on our website shortly, the recording of this, as well as, excuse me, some additional resources that were mentioned will be shared on our site as well, so you can find that there. Again, thank you so much to everyone for joining, and have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you. Bye, everybody.